name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you're listening to PhilX Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.PhilX.com. We're speaking tonight with PhilX, the lead guitarist and lead singer from PhilX and the Drills. Welcome to our new segment we call Singled Out. We'll be talking to Phil about his latest single, which is called Right on the Money. So right off the bat, Phil, I'd like to ask you a little history about the band. How long has this band been together?
First of all, hello.
Yeah.
Second of all, we started doing stuff in 2003, as far back as that.
Wow.
The thing was I did have another band that was gigging a lot and getting a lot of press overseas.
Yeah.
And so everything, the Drills were always on the back burner.
Oh.
And then when that stopped, I got the call from Bon Jovi. So then the Drills stayed on the back burner.
Yeah. Obviously.
Because, I mean, it's a good reason.
Yeah.
You know, but it's still, it's my passion. I write the songs. I get to deliver my message.
Yeah.
Whatever my story is, I get to tell it, and I have a great time with it. I feel blessed that I get to do both. I get to ride in a van and play small clubs, and then a couple of months later, I'm flying in jets and playing arenas. So
that's living the good life. You're living the dream, man.
I mean, it's great, man. It really is. I feel like getting both sides of the coin being a blessing as opposed to anything else.
Yeah. Now,
but I'm really excited about Right on the Money because I feel like it's a really great time.
Yeah.
I've always had a positive attitude, so Right on the Money for me means no matter what's happening, you just got to look on the bright side, and things could always be worse.
Oh yeah,
that kind of mentality.
Which I think is the perfect kind of song to have for what the world's currently going through. I mean, everything.
It's really a crazy time, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought in 2020 that the big commodity would become toilet paper?
Oh, dude, that was crazy. That was the one thing that was so messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that are messed up, but people getting into fistfights over toilet paper, that's the worst.
Yeah, it was crazy. And,
I hope they keep that out of the history books.
Yeah. But I gotta ask you, Phil, because as great of a guitar player as you're a pretty decent singer. Have you always been a lead singer, or did you kind of find out when you started getting into music that you could also sing?
I love singing.
Yeah.
So, I've been singing for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm actually a stronger singer now than when I was in my first band.
I would think so.
Because I feel like everybody's got an instrument, and if you really learn how to navigate and learn your instrument, then you become better at it. So that's what I did. I didn't not a lot of vocal lessons. Yeah. Nothing really helped. But once I knew what I had, and I knew my weaknesses and my strengths, and there's some strengths that I stick to. Yeah. There's some weaknesses that I try to strengthen, but there's also some other weaknesses that I stay away from and totally avoid.
Yeah.
But the Drills has been my thing. And it's funny because in the beginning, the first Drills record was punkier. Yeah. And the singing wasn't as I wasn't using my higher register. Yeah. And then as the record started coming out, when we play instruments and shit, you could really hear my higher register. Like I'm a huge Zeppelin fan. So sometimes I'm going into the plant range, and I'm comfortable with it. It's kind of like it's a nice tool to have.
Oh yeah, I mean,
especially if you come in like, I'm putting up a lot of content on YouTube lately because I'm emotionally scarred every morning, thinking that I can't perform until next year. Yeah. So at least performing for my camera. Yeah. And then I can put it on YouTube. It kind of is therapeutic.
Oh yeah.
So, but we put up a video of Dan and myself and Brian Tichy on drums.
Oh wow, I love Brian
Tichy. Playing Black Dog.
Oh wow.
And most of the comments are like, "Shit, I knew this guy could play, but I had no idea he could sing like this."
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember years ago talking about Brian Tichy. He's another guy that he's multi-talented. He can play guitar. He can sing. You know, he's primarily known as a drummer. I seen him back in the day, like when that metal show was still on, and he did this thing with like a punching speed bag, and he's playing the drums at the same time. I mean, just a totally inventive guy. You know.
Amazing. Yeah, and he's one of my favorite drummers. Like he's. I don't think he's going to be on Volume 2, but he is going to be on Volume 3.
Wow.
Stupid Good Lookings.
Yeah, okay.
And he, he's one of the guys. He just comes in and he nails it. And even Dan said about Tishy's drumming, he said, like, I'm a shitty drummer.
Yeah. I
can't drum. But Dan goes, I feel like if you could drum, you play exactly like Brian Tishy. And I'm like, I think you're right. I love his playing so much.
Oh, wow. And the reason I ask that is because a lot of guys, like, they start out on an instrument and then kind of by accident they later learn, I can sing pretty decent too. And that's pretty cool because and I imagine it makes it that much easier, like, because you're singing songs that you wrote yourself, you can sing them more from the heart.
I think so too. And that's why I love the two canvases. You know, I love when I'm delivering the drills message. It's me. It's my voice. It's my lyric.
Yeah.
And I get to be 100% PhilX. So when I go to the day job, John's driving that van, and I'm kind of in the back seat adding color.
Wow. And so I think that's cool that we're doing, like, putting these videos up on YouTube because, like you said, people aren't getting to go out and do live shows right now, and who knows when they're going to. And people got to have some kind of, entertainment.
Yeah, it's a crazy time, man. I posted something on Instagram the other day because I was looking at my computer and a calendar, a calendar notice went up. Calendar notice. Yeah. And it was like, tomorrow, the LA Forum.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
It's funny because I was talking to John last week and he said, man, I had to take all the calendar dates out of my computer because it was bumming me out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm the opposite. I see that and I go, right.
Yeah.
That's what I do when everything's normal.
Yeah. See, and what I love about it is, not to get too political here, but I love the fact that governor here in California is saying, we don't know when we're going to allow concerts to come back, but if you're out there rioting, that's all right, because we'll call that a peaceful protest. I just kind of laugh at they get to decide what we can and can't do.
I know it's like I said, it's a crazy time, man. It's like who would have thought in 2020 that all this stuff would be going down? And as if COVID wasn't bad enough.
Yeah.
Then you have the demonstrations.
Yeah.
The demonstrations, you have nobody's even thinking about COVID now. No one's wearing masks. They're all crowding up. It's like, and then our friend who's a nurse, we have a family friend that's a nurse, and she said after the demonstrations were going down, their ICU just totally filled up again with COVID cases. That's
amazing. And I gotta tell you what I love about this song, Right on the Money. Like you said, it's a great upbeat song. It's kind of just good time music, and that's what we need for times like this. And I was curious, I assume you're working towards like your next full-length CD. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
well, actually, all the songs have been recorded for Volume 2, but we just we're in the process of getting everything mixed.
Oh, now any chance that'll come out before the 2020 Bon Jovi album?
Probably.
Oh, that's.
I'm hoping this comes out in the fall. I was gonna say summer, but that's just around the corner.
That's just around the corner, like literally 2 days away. Yeah.
Literally 2 days away. I gotta look at I don't know what day it is sometimes, man.
Yeah, I only know that because I heard
it's Groundhog Day every day.
I heard it on the news, official start of summer is 2 days away. But, and I want to ask you, too, because I remembered hearing the name PhilX years ago. People may not even be aware of this, but I remember one time you'd been the guy that came into Triumph and replaced Rik Emmett. Isn't that correct?
Yes, and that was like 93, I think.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that experience. That had to be a cool thing, because I know you're originally from Canada.
Yeah, well, it was one of those things. It's like when you think about iconic bands with iconic guitar players, Triumph comes up if you're talking about Canada.
Yeah.
Right? So and it was weird because I was playing with another Canadian band called Frozen Ghost,
Okay.
and I was in Toronto at a Q107, which was the rock station.
Yeah.
And is the rock station. I was at a Q107 Christmas bash or something, and like Mike Levine came up to me.
Oh wow.
And he was like, "Hey, you're PhilX, right?" I go, "Yeah."
Yeah, you know me?
How's it going, man? How's it going? How's it going looking for a guitar player?
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, "Well, I gotta say, everybody I talk to says we should get you."
Wow.
And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So that gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, and that had to been just like ultimate feeling. Now, I also had read something that you'd also worked for another great Canadian singer, which was Aldo Nova. As you know, John also produced some of his music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, John and Aldo had a history.
Yeah.
I think it was Aldo that helped John out in the beginning.
Yeah.
So then when Aldo wanted to put out another record, John decided to return the favor.
Yeah,
so he started a label, signed him to his label. They wrote and produced the songs together.
Yeah.
And the album was already recorded, but then he needed a band, so he got a hold of me, and we put this band together. And that's what happened with Triumph. It kind of put Triumph on hold because Triumph, they said they wanted to work with me, but then they disappeared. And then I got the Aldo Nova tour.
Wow.
And then they called me in and said, "Hey, so we want you to be in Triumph." And I'm like, "Well, I just committed to an Aldo Nova tour, so I can't walk away from that now.
Yeah.
So if you still need a guitar player after, give me a call." And that's what happened. They called and they said, "Hey, what are you doing now?" And I said, "Nothing." Let's go make a Triumph record.
That must have been an even better feeling, like the second time around when they called, because they actually waited around for you instead of going to find somebody else.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's funny too, because I was like, back then I was like 23 or 24, and I was like, what the heck is going on? I must have done some right stuff.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants me. So it was kind of a great feeling.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was kind of like I was more prepared to fill in for Richie Sambora.
Yeah.
Because of, more experience.
Yeah.
Right? When you're 23 and 24 and somebody says you have to replace this guitar player, it's kind of nerve-wracking. You know? You're like, how is that possible? Because, I was a fan too. Yeah.
And now, did the Triumph gig end, or was that your choice, or did they just kind of decide to get back with Rik?
Well, that happened later on.
Yeah, much later. Yeah.
Much later. Yeah. So I had already been doing it. It was funny because Metalworks is like 15 minutes from my mom's house in Mississauga.
Yeah.
So every time I go visit my mom, I go visit Gil.
Yeah.
And we go grab a coffee. So the one time I came in, they were meeting because they were doing something. So Rik, Mike, and Gil were all there. And hey man, come on in. Let's have a talk. And Rik was the one that was like, "Dude, tell me about Bon Jovi."
Wow, that's funny. Now, Triumph isn't too active these days, but they still kind of run the band and everything. And I hear they're working on a documentary. Any chance you might get to be part of that?
Yeah, I think they've been talking. I mean, before the COVID thing happened, we were talking about doing an interview, and then also they are putting out a tribute record to Triumph by other artists.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So not only are the Drills going to be on there doing a Triumph tune, but they've asked me to be in the house band. If it's a singer.
Oh wow.
They've been talking about a lot of different singers coming in, so they want to have the band to be consistent.
Now let me ask you: do you get to pick the song, or do they kind of pick it for you?
I picked the Drills tune.
Oh, okay, cool.
You don't want me to tell you, do you?
Yeah, you could if you want to. I mean,
you sound like a Triumph fan.
Oh, I am.
Yeah. I'm like, Gil, put this in your phone. Put it on your pad. Put it on whatever you put information on. The Drills are doing Allied Forces.
Oh wow, what a cool song! Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
I mean, I'm a Triumph fan in the sense that what I think is sad is a lot of people forgot what a great band Triumph was. I remember maybe about 10 years ago they put out that Greatest Hits CD, and that seemed to become a great seller. But I got that, and it just kind of reminds you, even they were played heavily on MTV back in the day. That's how big Triumph.
Yeah, sure, man.
Triumph.
That's when I was. I was in a cover band, and we were playing like Spellbound.
Wow.
And then we might have even tried. It was funny too. We even tried doing Follow Your Heart.
Oh wow.
But it's so high. And then when I'm hanging out with Gil, he's the one going, "Oh man, we should have lowered the key of Follow Your Heart."
Yeah.
Even the producer was like, "Are you sure you want to sing this high every night?"
Yeah. Triumph's just amazing. Now I have to ask you, of course, about some other legendary Canadian bands. Of course, there's Rush. I'm sure you were a huge Rush fan as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. Neil Peart was, even up until the time he died, he was considered a new guy, even though he wrote most of his stuff, which is kind of funny, being the drummer and all.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I was really young. When the first Rush record came out, but when people go, "Hey, play something by Rush," I always play Working Man.
Oh wow!
But to be fair to Neil, my favorite version is on All the World's a Stage, the live at Massey Hall.
Oh wow!
Because he totally like rips it up.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things when every time you walk by, I was a huge fan of that live record, and every time you walk by, "Hey, I'm going downtown. Hey, let's go to Massey Hall. There's no concert tonight. I know, but Rush played there."
Oh wow! Yeah. And final band I got to ask you about coming out of Canada that I accidentally discovered maybe about 9 or 10 years ago was Moxie. Were you aware of who Moxie was?
Did you say Moxie?
Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
I had a friend who, it was funny. Who was it? I had a friend who was a drummer in Moxie, I think.
Yeah.
And they even made it down. There's some Canadian bands that even if they didn't really make it big in the States, they did really well in Texas.
Yeah, that's what I understand. And they had, I think the original singer died in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, totally died in a motorcycle accident. But I was talking to the drummer, and he said, "Man, when I was in Moxie, we played in Texas, and AC/DC opened up for us."
Wow. Yeah.
And I was watching AC/DC, and I was like, "Oh, this will never fly."
Yeah, it's just amazing, yeah. And I totally discovered them by accident, but I can't even name a song, but I tell you, the stuff I heard, it was just amazing, and it just stunned me that they never became bigger, but one of those tragedies, I guess, of rock and roll. Now,
it really is, man. You never know what's gonna stick, right?
Yeah. Now I'd like to ask, as far as when you were growing up, Phil, who were some of your guitar heroes?
Well, I'm old enough to have seen Van Halen from 1980 to 1984 4 times with Roth.
Oh wow!
And the first time I was 14 on the Women and Children First tour in 1980.
Wow!
And it changed my life because to think of the light that I put Eddie Van Halen in.
Yeah.
So he was my favorite guitar player. So to me, he was the best guitar player in the world. But to go to a concert and see this guy not just stand there and play stupid, incredible guitar licks.
Yeah.
He's jumping up the drum riser and sprinting across the stage and climbing PA stacks, and you're like going, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
It totally changed my life.
Wow.
It was like, oh man, this guy is all about having fun and the show and not just standing there and playing incredible guitar parts. So that was one of the things, and that'll always stick in my mind as the moment of clarity. Because and everybody that followed, they all had moves, man.
Wow,
Angus Young, Jimmy Page,
yeah,
all these guys, they all get on stage and rock out. So that's the school that I went to.
Oh wow!
You get on stage and you just rock out. There's no standing still. There's no, there was one band I was in one time, and the guy, he wrote some political songs.
Yeah.
And he pulled me over after one show, and he said, "Look, when we do this song, can you not smile?"
Wow. Okay.
I go, "Dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How can I not smile? I got a guitar in my hands. There's an audience 10 feet away. How can you ask me not to smile?" He goes, "Okay, then turn around, because it's throwing me off."
Yeah. That's one thing I could never get about grunge music is like writing songs about being depressed and how awful the world is, as great as some of it is. But like Eddie Van Halen, the thing that amazes me about him is people may be amazed as great of a guitar player as Eddie is. He can't read a lick of music, but look at what he can do.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I remember reading interviews where Roth would say, from the very beginning, he would tell Eddie, hey, don't let anybody see how you're playing, the licks you're playing on the guitar, and they would try to hide that from audience seeing.
I mean, I go out on a limb and I say I don't think there's anybody that changed guitar as much as Ed.
Oh yeah.
He not only changed, I sound like a disciple of Ed because I am.
Well, you are, yeah.
But he definitely changed so much about guitar. Some licks and the sound and even the look of a guitar. He changed so much.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think anybody else. I can't name anybody else who has done that. But I do. There was another guy that I listened to a lot when I was a younger player, and it was Uli John Roth from the.
Oh yeah, Scorpions. Wow. Yeah.
And then I'm such a geek. I'm like, wait a minute. There's a lick in Sales of Sharon that Ed does at the end of the solo of Ice Cream Man.
Oh yeah.
So everybody got something from Uli, man, and I got to play with Uli in Japan in January of 2019.
Oh wow,
that was pretty amazing. He still has this thing, man.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The Charmin is playing as his improvising. His improvising is still. He doesn't we did 3 shows, and he would take a solo and he wouldn't do the same thing twice, and that's like unheard of these days.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people don't know how to improvise.
Yeah.
He's like a punk rock hippie.
Wow.
He gets up there with his Hendrix headband and it's dazzling. I was so impressed. It was amazing.
Oh wow, that is amazing. And now you talked a little bit about how you and John met was through Aldo Nova. So talk about, what was it, 2012 when you called when Richie Sambora stopped showing up for work that you got the call?
Well, in 2011 was the first time they called me, but it was because Richie's health was deteriorating.
Oh, okay.
And they thought, you know what, we're going to need a backup. So, or somebody on hold, someone's on stage ready to take the spot. And so we don't have to cancel shows. There was a couple of shows that John had to do without Richie.
Wow.
But Bobby Bandero was there as a utility guitar player, and he's great, and his voice is awesome, and he's a great player. So, but it was still too much work for John to do. Without Richie.
Being the front,
so he said, I never want to do that again. Yeah. So let's get somebody and put them on deck.
Yeah.
And then, so I did 13 shows, and then Richie came back. It was 2013 that they were doing a show in Calgary that night, and Richie just didn't want to go.
Yeah, wow.
So, and I was at Trader Joe's down here, putting bananas in a cart, and John Bon Jovi calls and says, hey, we need you tonight.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, wait, tonight?
Yeah.
So, I got to Calgary. I missed the show in Calgary. I landed and got to the arena as they said, thank you, good night.
Oh, wow.
But I played the next night in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And 90 shows after that.
Oh, wow. So after those 90 shows, I guess you'd finally realize, okay, I'm in the band now, or how did that?
Well, no, there was still an uncertainty. So
okay.
It was 2014 that Richie quit.
Okay.
Officially quit.
Yeah.
And it was 2016 when they recorded "This House Is Not for Sale," and then they asked me to do some tracks on it, and then they said, well, you're only doing some tracks on it because we want you to be in the videos and on the album art.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the band.
Wow.
And so, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, now correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, but I think your fellow bandmate there, Hugh McDonald, the bass player, I think he was in the band 20 years or something before he was made an official member, so congratulations to both of you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean that was the discussion.
Yeah.
Because John was like, well, you can't have a rock band with just a keyboard player, a drummer, and a singer.
Yeah.
But it was Tico that said, well, if you're going to bring in the guitar player, you got to bring in the bass player.
Yeah, you've been here long. Yeah, well, good for both of you. But were you surprised? Because to me, it seems like the fans have been pretty accepting of you.
there's still that
Richie.
two sides of the coin. There's the one side of the coin that's been super supportive.
Yeah.
They believe that even from the beginning, I wasn't in
The band.
I didn't have, my goal wasn't to take Richie Sambora's job.
Oh, no.
It was to help out their band. So they dug that, and then when they got to know me and when they got to hear me more, they just became more and more and bigger fans. And a lot of them are Drills fans too, which is awesome.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, my fan club, which is probably the best fan club on the planet.
Yeah.
Started off as Jovi fans, and they're still Jovi fans, obviously.
Yeah.
But they became not only my fans, but run my fan club. It's incredible. But there is, a group of people that are like, I'm not going to the show because it's not Bon Jovi without Richie Sambora.
Yeah, well, I think the people that have accepted, I think it's partly because, let's be honest, the band is called Bon Jovi, not Sambora.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think as long as John's there, people will go to his shows, obviously, because he's just an incredible frontman, singer, and
oh, for sure. Yeah.
And everything. And I think Bon Jovi as a whole, the band, I mean, they've always had great players in the band,
Oh, you know what? I learned from these guys.
Yeah.
David Bryan is an incredible musician.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the way he even warms up for a show. I kind of like, I watch it like it's a performance.
Yeah.
It's pretty spectacular. And then Tico, he's one of the best.
Yeah.
It's like and Hugh. Man, Hugh's invaluable in that band. He is so locked in with Tico, and he can lock in with John. With John's just playing acoustic, and I don't know. I know a lot of bass players. I don't know a lot of bass players that can do that.
Yeah.
As well as he does.
I know Hugh McDonald before Bon Jovi. He was very much a session guy like you, and it's been rumored for years that and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's been rumored for years that he's actually played bass on every single Bon Jovi album from day one. I don't know how true that is, but that is a rumor.
It's not a rumor.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, okay. that I think is why he's been able to finish so well, because that's been the secret.
He was the obvious choice.
Yeah. And I was reading also on your Wikipedia that you had appeared. I think you had some involvement with the movie Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh man, I didn't appear in it. I gave Rachel Lee Cook guitar lessons.
Oh wow, okay.
And showed them some moves.
Oh, how cool.
Basically, we were rock star coaches.
Oh, that's yeah. You gotta love that when you're teaching somebody how to do the moves. Okay,
and then it's but then at the same time, the movie company is okay. So please go to Rachel Lee Cook's penthouse and give her guitar lessons on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then you show up and you show her a couple of things, and she's like, "Oh man, I don't want to do this anymore. Can you just tell him you taught me for 3 hours and just bill him?"
Okay. Oh wow.
I'll back it up.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a struggling musician right now. I could use the check.
Yeah, and I was reading you also had done some session work with Alice Cooper. What was that like?
He wasn't there.
Oh, wow.
But I'm a huge fan, and I did meet him a couple of years ago, and I got to, even when I was playing on Brutal Planet, which came out in 2000.
Oh, that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
It was great to hear his voice while I was playing. So I go, you know what? He's not here because he's in Australia taking care of business. I get it.
Yeah.
But when I do finally meet him, I can say, hey, man, I'm PhilX. I played all the crazy guitar parts on Brutal Planet.
Wow.
So when I finally met him 2 years ago, we're talking 18 years later.
Yeah.
I go, hey, I'm PhilX. I played all the crazy guitar parts on Brutal Planet. He was like, oh my God, great to meet you. Bob Marlette, who produced the record, he couldn't stop talking about you. He said you came up with all this crazy stuff, and he was so blown away, and thank you so much. And man, if you're going to meet a hero from your childhood, that's the way to meet him.
Yeah, and I got to ask you, when you heard that Brutal Planet album, when it finally came out, what did you think? Because that was probably, honestly, the closest thing to a metal album that Alice has ever done.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He wanted that. In fact, It was Rob Zombie that gave Alice Cooper my number.
Oh wow! Wow.
Because I was working on Rob Zombie's Sinister Urge record.
Oh wow!
And Alice is like, I want to make a really, really heavy record. You know any guitar players? And he's like, oh man, you gotta hear this guy playing on my record.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's another goosebump moment where. Right. You gave Alice Cooper my number, and I should wait for your call. Right.
Yeah. And I got to ask you, Phil, like when you started getting all these great little session gigs, was that something that kind of accidentally kind of fell into your lap, or did you intend, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get as many sessions as I can, or people just started calling you?
I didn't. It kind of fell into it. It was almost accidental.
Yeah.
Because you're in a struggling band, and you're living in LA, and there's 20,000 bands playing every week, and you got to find a way to stand out. In the meantime, you got to pay the rent.
Yeah.
So I feel like it seemed like I did the first thing, and then the second thing, and then the third thing, and it snowballed, and it just became like the next thing. But I think what helped me was that I wrote songs, and I'd always try to find really cool guitar parts to fit the songs that I wrote. So when I went to play on other people's records, I was very inventive and had really good instincts out of the gate.
Yeah, and
aside from looking at the artist, it's about looking at the song and trying to make it the best song it could be.
Yeah.
So that was always my approach, and that's why I always got called back.
And the reason I asked is because there aren't too many guys that can make a great living as a session guy, but of course there's Jimmy Page, and then there's another guy that recently passed, Bob PhilX, and he started out, he played with everything from Alice Cooper to Diana Ross, Kiss, Meatloaf,
Oh, yeah, totally.
And so it's a very select group of people that can make a living doing that. So great. That's great for you.
Yeah. Well, I think it's amazing to be able to do that, especially when it's like the first time I recorded with Tommy Lee, I was like, holy shit, it's Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
And then you work with Rob Zombie, and you're like, holy shit, it's Rob Zombie. And then when I worked with Chris Cornell, it was like, oh my God, it's Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible position to be in, to walk in and make music with these people that you grew up listening to.
Yeah, and I got to ask you, how surprised were you when you heard about Chris Cornell?
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Especially when you think he took that route.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at this guy that he's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
He's at the top of the list. He's just at the top. Like, what?
Where else can you go?
What would it take?
Yeah.
To put that in somebody's head?
Yeah.
Actually, we have a new song on the Volume 2 coming out called Broken Arrow, and it kind of took a look at that whole situation. And,
oh, wow.
Because, being an artistic, having an artistic venue like a song and writing a lyric, I think I needed to get it out. So I wrote this song called Broken Arrow, and it was basically about him taking his life.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. We look forward to hearing that. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to talk about that other little band, Bon Jovi again. Bon Jovi's actually been heavily affected by COVID. I mean, your keyboard player, David Bryan, he actually contacted it. I guess he's doing much better, so that's good for him.
Positive. He's well now, but he said he was really sick for like a month and 3 days.
Uh-huh. And then, do you know, is it 2020? Is it still going to come out this year, or don't really know at this point?
I don't know, man. I mean, I tell fans, because fans are like, hey, when's the new release going to come out? And I'm always like,
well, I just play in the band.
You probably know before me.
Yeah. And on 2020, how involved were you with the songwriting?
No songwriting.
Okay.
But I was there. It was the first record where I was there through the recording process from the beginning.
Yeah.
So we laid down the bed tracks all together as a band in Nashville last March.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the first time I did that, and that was the first time I got to peek into the creative process with this band. So it was pretty enlightening and fun.
Yeah.
And but it's John's very specific. He has, when he writes a song, he knows how he wants the message conveyed.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see how that comes together.
Oh yeah, I mean it's, and I think the interesting thing is somehow your first album with the band, officially,
it's definitely going to be memorable. 2020, even if it doesn't come out in 2020, people are going to remember everything that took to get that album out there, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's just an amazing time. And the track that we were talking about, Right on the Money, is there any chance there'll be a video for that?
Is there a what, sorry?
A music video?
Yes. And the cool thing about this is it stays true to looking on the bright side.
Great.
It's a quarantine/fan video.
Okay.
So quarantine-wise, me, Dan, and Brent were all in different cities.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel's free and Brent Fitz. We were all in different cities. And Brent being in Winnipeg, Canada.
Oh, wow.
But so we couldn't play together because we're quarantining.
Yeah.
So that footage is different, us in different locations. And then I just launched the PhilX app last month.
Wow.
And so, I know it's funny. We have premier members. So I had all the premier members send me videos of them singing the chorus.
Wow.
So I have 35, I think maybe almost 40 fans singing in the choruses. Not all at the same time. Like one person will have another fan will have Right on the Money. So, but, hey, there I am. Oh, there I am.
Wow.
So, it took a lot of work, and I watched the latest draft this morning, and I'm really excited about it. That'll come out next week.
Oh, cool. We'll be looking for that. And
Awesome.
I just got to say, Brent Fentz, man, what a great drummer you got in him, because
he's fantastic.
He used to have a band with Karabi and Bruce Killick called Union, and
I know.
And man, that was great stuff they did. And he's also played with.
He's really done some amazing stuff.
Yeah, he's played with Theory of the Dead Man. I think at one time he's even played with the Guess Who. So he's just, and of course Slash, but he's just ultimate drummer. If you could get a chance to play with him.
Man, I think he played with Guess Who last year.
Oh wow!
Like he fills in when the guy can't do it.
Well,
but you know what's the really cool thing about him is that we knew each other for 25 years, but we had never played together until 2 years ago in Germany.
Yeah.
And Dan and I were like, hey, let's take Brent to Germany. He's doing great. So we do the first show.
Wow.
And I was like, I look at Dan after, and I'm like, is it just me, or do you feel like you've been playing with this guy for 25 years?
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, so you've known him all these years, and then by the time you reconnect with him, it's like, look at you little legendary guy playing with all these bands and musicians, Slash.
Totally.
Yeah, and have you ever seen him perform with Slash?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw him. I was in Munich doing something, and they were there.
Wow.
So I went and saw them in Munich, and I was like, wow. And the whole band's great. Todd Kearns is such a great singer, man, and Miles, obviously a killer singer as well.
Oh wow, yeah. They all are just huge talents, and I just want to say, Phil, I really enjoyed getting to know you today. So I'm going to continue to follow you, and when your album drops, we'll do this again if you don't mind.
Awesome, man. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, take care.